I've come to learn that intuition isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a muscle. And just like any muscle, it has to be practiced, developed, and trained. And today we're going to work on one that I don't actually consider to be my strongest at all: clairalience. Just like we have physical senses, sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell, we also have what are called the clairsenses. These are the senses that we use to connect to the spirit world, to receive intuitive information, and to just simply connect with things that are beyond what the physical world allows for. Now, these clairs are clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairaudience, clear hearing, claircognizance, clear knowing, clairsentience, clear feeling, and clairalience, clear smelling. Clairalience is the ability to receive smells that have no physical source. So you're not smelling something that's in the room, you're essentially receiving a scent as a piece of information. And this one actually makes a lot of sense when you think about our sense of smell and how it actually works. Of all of our physical senses, smell is the one most directly linked to memory and emotion. And it bypasses rational thought and goes straight to a feeling. So it tracks that spirit communication would use this. From what I've read, the experience can vary. For some people, it's a brief, quick whiff that disappears quickly. But for others, it can be a strong, vivid, and even a bit disorienting experience. Now, the message it carries can only be decoded by you. Maybe it's a personal warning, a confirmation, a visit from someone you love. If you're reading for others, it can be used to also layer a message and weave in any additional memories, thoughts, or emotions. So, like I said, this is not my strongest clairsense, but I did have 3 experiences with clairalience. The first time I was having what I would describe as an ordinary day at home, what I like to call my slump days, where I'm sprawled out on the couch on my phone watching TV, and out of nowhere I get this strong, clear whiff of perfume that my mom used to wear, like specifically a scent that she used to wear when I was little. It's funny because as I'm here recounting this story, I can't actually recreate the scent right now, but I can see the bottle in my head. And I remember exactly where she had it placed in the bathroom, but yeah, I just can't like reconstruct the same whiff that I had that day. In that moment, it was completely unmistakable. It like transported me back instantly to early mornings as a kid, you know, being half asleep in bed. She's coming in all put together before work, gives me a kiss, and I would just kind of carry that scent with me on my pillow. And it's wild, that scent showed up in the middle of my lazy Saturday afternoon with no explanation. And it was quite fleeting. Honestly, I really didn't think much of it, but a few months later, I actually traveled home for a major surgery that she was having. And even looking back, I think the perfume was just a bit of a heads up. The second moment happened during my first connection exercise with my psychic mentor. We were working on channeling Archangel Uriel as a group, and I was getting really deep into meditation, you know, picking up images and words, when suddenly I smelled Palo Santo, and it felt close, like it was burning in the same room with me. And I immediately broke the connection to open my eyes. I just looked around the room to make sure that nothing was actually burning, and nope, nothing. There was literally nothing lit. And I don't even think I had Palo Santo at home at that time. So, you know, the scent eventually just faded. And that was the moment I realized, like, oh, this is a thing that I can access. Now, the third experience is my favorite and by far what I would consider most evidential. So I had recently learned my biological grandfather's name for the first time. I never knew him, and something in me just needed to find out more about him. So I went deep into historical documents, online profiles, you know, anything I could find of him or his relatives. And when I finally exhausted every resource available to me, recently, I had this dream. And in this dream, I was in an in-between space. You know, when you're half asleep, half conscious. So I was aware that I was dreaming, but I was also still sleeping. Yeah, I know, very, very strange. In this dream state, I felt a pull towards an unseen energy. You know, I saw a door and I walked to it and I felt safe. I opened it and immediately I got this strong scent of cigarette smoke. It was like walking into the home of someone who smoked their whole life. And I couldn't see anything, but I could physically smell it. That smell was there. But because I was still half conscious, you know, my brain jumped to the most logical explanation and I woke myself up thinking my house was on fire. Later, my psychic mentor would come and confirm that my biological grandfather came to visit. And fortunately, I had the opportunity to ask some more questions. Okay, so now we practice. You'll need an eye mask or something to cover your eyes and a few scented items. This can be candles, spices, piece of clothing, anything that is going to carry a scent. And if possible, you'll want to ask someone you trust to gather them for you without telling you what they are. Give them this specific prompt. Find scents that will trigger emotions or memories. Once you're set up, the practice is simple but intentional. You are not playing a guessing game, though you can think of or jot down what you like about the scent, what's repelling about it, and you can even name the scent. Most importantly, I want you to notice, what does my body feel first? Does the scent smell like an indoor or outdoor scent? Is it food related or household product? What memories surface up for you personally? What emotions come up personally? And what thoughts this smell pulls forward? That's going to become your translation key. The same scent can land completely differently depending on who is receiving it and who you're picking it up for. And the more you know about how you specifically respond to smell, the more fluent you can become in your own intuitive language. All right, I am going to put on my eye mask and we are going to work through these items that my husband picked out one by one. I honestly have no idea what's in these little Tupperwares. So it is going to be as much of a practice for me as it will be for you when you do it. Okay, perfect. So just to let you know, I can see a little bit of the table like right here, but I don't see what the items are. And I am going to keep my eyes closed so I don't see what those items are. All right, so I'm going to do a bit of a meditation just to kind of get into my body, get comfortable, and really focus on being present in this moment so that I could better pick up those emotions and those thoughts related to each item. All right, so let's do this. Going to take off this towel. Awesome, great. Now again, I do want to just kind of reiterate that the practice here is solely around scent. We really want to pick up any messages that are coming through in terms of emotions, words, images that come up related to each scent that you have. There is a clairsense dedicated to touch. I can't recall the name off the top of my head, but I'll have to drop it in here. But that clairsense is really focused on touching an item and picking up those messages. Right now, we're going to touch the item, but focus on the scent of the item. In fact, I don't even think I'm gonna try to touch each item. Since they're in Tupperwares, I will just hold them to my nose. So let's start with item 1 over here. And I hope that you can see it. All right. Oh, of course I can't smell it. There is nothing. There is a top there, of course. All right, he did a good job. Okay, so I want you to take a look at the item immediately as soon as I open the Tupperware cap. I could smell what the item is. I know what it is. I'm not quite sure if it's clear to you all what it is. This scent is really taking me to the beach. So I am now seeing this beach that my husband and I typically go to. I'm seeing the coastline. I'm not really feeling it, but like I know how soft the sand is. And then I can like hear like a wave crash, and I can see the like blue turquoise color. I'm particularly thinking of one beach. I think it's also just because it's my husband's favorite beach. We rarely go there, but I know that it's his favorite and it's one of the most recent ones we went to. And when I think of this scent, I particularly think of my husband, just because this is what his skin smells like, especially after a beach day when we're traveling and we're gonna be in the sun all day. And so when I lean into his neck is kind of like when I smell this smell. So really the core things coming up are my husband and the beach. I think it's also because my husband's so pale that he always needs sunscreen. So anytime I think of sunscreen, I think of my husband. That is really what's coming up for me when I smell this. Let's move forward to the next one. I just love the smell because it reminds me so much of my husband, and he's not home today. Okay, item 2, and this time I am going to take off the top here. Okay, and let's see. I didn't get an immediate strong whiff, so I'm guessing it's kind of something I have to lean into. Okay, this smell, funny enough, it's repelling. It's not a smell that I particularly like or enjoy. I know what the smell is. Ugh, this is gonna sound so bad. It's my dog's kibble. But when I think of the kibble, I think of the like mess that it comes with. So the things that I'm seeing are like the kibble specks that live on the floor because my dogs will like chew and then they finish chewing and they walk away, and they have like kibble all over their like chin, and that kibble speck gets all over clothes and the couch. So yeah, so when I think of like the dog kibble, of course, I think of my 2 dogs. I think of one dog in particular, my smallest dog, just because she is the type to like chew, walk away, and she'll get like kibble stuck on her chin, and that kibble gets everywhere. It's not that it's particularly a negative, bad scent. It's just I am a bit of like a clean freak. Like I like things to be in order, in place, and my dogs literally feel like toddlers to me, and they just kind of wreak havoc, especially on freshly mopped floors. But this is what I'm thinking of. Like this is, like I think of the, like obviously kibble dog, but I think of kind of like the specks and everything that I have to clean up when it comes to their kibble. Third and final item, let's see what it is. Okay, I like this. I like this so much. I like feel so happy and light. Like this one, like the difference between this one, the kibble, and like this are like worlds apart. Like when I smelled this, I was like, ugh. And I think it was just because like my body kind of felt like, oh, like chore, work, like I have to clean. Whereas like this one, I don't know what it is right now, but it's really sweet and it's really fruity. But I like it. It kind of reminds me of something that I would eat, and I think I very much enjoy the act of eating. You know, like I'm a snacking type of person. Like I'm always in the mood for a sweet treat. And so obviously, you know, sometimes you think with your nose. And as I smell this, I'm like, oh, like this makes me want to have like a bite of something. Like I want to chew. I don't want to touch it. Again, this is focused on scent, but like part of me just wants to like grab it and see if it's something that I can put in my mouth and eat. This makes me really happy, and I think it's also because I love the act of like eating. You know, my husband and I will like snack together, but we'll also watch a movie. Or like when we go to the movies together, like we get popcorn, we get snacks. Because we eat so communally, like it makes me feel like in a gathering sense. Yeah, I love it. Like this could easily be like a car freshener or perfume maybe. But it is so sweet. It really makes me so happy. It also makes me like a bit calm too. To describe the scent to you, it kind of smells like cherry, but it's not strong enough to be cherry. It's really just kind of like a grouping or mixture of like, you know, tropical fruit or fruit punch or something of that effect. It's a very young smell too, in the sense that like this is maybe like a body spray that like a teenager would wear, or maybe like a lip balm that like a girl, like I'm getting the sense of like a young female when I smell of this. Okay, yeah. Now, if I had to rank the smells in order, sorry to my husband, but this would be my favorite smell. This smell definitely just made me feel really happy. I loved it. It like pulled me in. It was like an attractive smell. With the sunscreen here, like, sunscreen is just sunscreen. You know, you never really think about sunscreen. Maybe some sunscreens don't even have a particular scent, but we are budget people, so we always get the Walmart brand, and it has a very distinct smell. And this is always what my husband smells like. You know, like we'll go out for the day and he has to put sunblock on because sitting in the car even burns his skin. But I would have to put this second. It was just like a familiar smell. Like when I smell this, I think of this one particular person and being in this one particular place. So it's not kind of like a smell that I would think of, you know, going to the mall, for instance. Like this is very much a small smell that if I smelled this coming through a store, I would walk in because it is so good. Now with this smell, it's just kind of like, it's a neutral scent is probably what I'm trying to get at. It doesn't repel me, but doesn't quite draw me in either. It just reminds me of my husband and the beach. Now this scent, it's repelling, and maybe it's a sign for me to get my dog some new food. And I don't know, maybe kibble isn't even supposed to smell delicious to the human nose. When I was going through this scent, it just kind of felt like, you know, like I don't quite know the word for it, but it just kind of felt like, I have to do this, or this is making a mess. That is kind of the like emotion that I pulled from the kibble in particular. And even though I have two dogs and they both eat the same kibble, I thought of the smallest dog just because she is a bit of the more messy eater. He picked up some really good items. Gotta give it up to my husband here. I truly had no idea what to, I think I could take this mask off. I truly had no idea what to expect with these items here, but clearly they had memories, images, ideas, feelings tied to them without me even really noticing. This is how you're going to train the psychic muscle. And what I love about this exercise is that there are literally no wrong answers, just your answers. You know, psychic perception is deeply personal. Every one of us has a different lived experience, and that experience is what becomes our translation key or word bank or reference guide. And here's another way of thinking about it. You know, I genuinely don't mind the smell of a gas station. You know, for me, it's quite neutral. Maybe a bit nostalgic, you know, family road trips growing up, but for someone else, that same smell might feel uncomfortable or sickening. I know it is for my husband. You know, one of us has a neutral channel for that scent, and the other, I guess, has, you know, a loaded one. And if spirit communication came through that smell as a message, it would land completely different between the two of us. And based on how that spirit is communicating to us, we're going to translate that information differently. Another example, Fritos. I used to love Fritos, past tense. My youngest sister had a pair of sneakers she wore each and every day. She absolutely loved those sneakers. And eventually they started to smell like Fritos. So now when I smell Fritos, I'm not thinking of a delicious lunchtime snack. I'm thinking about my youngest sister and how her sneakers used to smell like them. So if Spirit ever needed to get my attention about my sister, you know, one corn chip whiff away and I'm already there and thinking about her. Now, some of you might smell Fritos and think of your dog, a friend, or just honestly think of it as just a snack. And all of that is valid. That is your translation key, not mine. So start building your library. You know, the more that you know about how you personally respond to scent, what memories live in certain smells, what emotions and feelings certain scents open up, the more fluent you become in your own intuitive language. If you do this practice, you gotta let me know, what did you practice on and how did you translate those scents? What came up for you? Like and subscribe if you want to keep building these psychic muscles together, and I will see you at the next recess break.